está la
Welcome.
doctora Mildred Heredia, que es la tutora de mi tesis doctoral sobre Proud.
Welcome to the Dr. Mildred, who's also part of the university I work at.
La presentación que les traigo es sobre la guerra multiforme en Venezuela.
The presentation is about multifaceted war on Venezuela.
Y aunque ya me presentaron, quiero ampliar algunos aspectos.
Though I already presented myself, I was presented already, I want to share a little bit more about that.
En mi condición humana, soy una mujer de la clase trabajadora venezolana,
I'm Venezuelan and I'm a member of the working class,
madre de dos hijos en edad universitaria,
mother of two sons, of one in the university,
que ha vivido todo el relato que les voy a contar sobre lo sucedido en Venezuela.
and I have lived through all the events that I will talk about, all events that have happened in Venezuela that I will talk about.
Un país donde hay un sol radiante, un clima maravilloso, una vegetación muy verde,
A country with a bright sun and very rich vegetation,
con los amaneceres muy hermosos
where when the sun rises, very beautiful sunrises.
y el amanecer de este 3 de enero no fue con nuestro radiante sol, sino que fue entre humo y misiles.
But the
Cristiane
third,
necessita mostrar
ampliar,
slideshow.
sí, ampliar pantalla. The 3rd of January was not a very bright awakening, bright sunrise.
Gracias.
It was bombs and smoke.
Las imágenes que estoy mostrando es parecido a la visual que tenía desde la ventana de mi casa.
These images I saw from my own window.
Hubo una conmoción muy grande. A mí particularmente me despertó el sonido de misiles, explosiones e incendios.
There was a big impact, and I could hear from where I was living, where I'm living, I could hear the sound of the bombs and see the fire.
Me di cuenta que no había electricidad, no solo en la zona donde yo vivía, sino que desde mi ventana no se veía luz en ningún edificio, en ninguna casa, era la oscuridad total.
Electricity went out, not only where I live, but in the whole area that I could oversee from my window.
Hubo el secuestro del presidente y de la primera dama.
There was the kidnapping, the happening was the kidnapping of the president and first lady.
Las telecomunicaciones totalmente cortadas, estábamos desinformados.
We did not have any information. There was no internet connection.
Mientras el bombardeo sucedía, yo estaba pensando naturalmente
And while the bombing was going on, I was thinking
por la historia que hemos vivido de guerra global del gobierno de Estados Unidos con el mundo.
I was thinking of all the global wars that are going on that were inflicted by the United States government in the world.
Enero de 3 de enero de 2026.
Sí, Dada, tienes razón. Enero del 2026, 3 de enero.
It's January 3rd, not March, January 3rd.
Naturalmente, como cualquier caraqueño, pensé que iban a continuar los bombardeos y que podíamos, si sobrevivíamos, estar caminando sobre escombros.
And just like many other people living in Caracas, we thought that the bombing would continue and that we would all end up, that the whole city would be bombarded.
Es un ataque unilateral inaceptable
It is an unacceptable attack, unilateral attack.
Realmente fue un ataque ilegal y una violación
It
de
was
los
an illegal
derechos,
attack. Yeah.
del derecho internacional público.
Illegal from the standpoint of international rights. Sorry, missed it.
No solo fue un ataque a todos los venezolanos,
It wasn't only attack on all Venezuelans,
sino que ha violado la Carta de las Naciones Unidas,
but also the United Nations Chart of Human Rights.
la violación de los marcos jurídicos del mundo, no solo el de Venezuela.
Of the whole world. There was an attack on legal rights of the whole planet.
Estuve haciendo preguntas a Google Gemini sobre el ataque a Venezuela
I asked artificial intelligence Gemini about the attack on Venezuela,
y suministro un capture donde me dice que no ha ocurrido un ataque militar contra Venezuela
and its
el 3 de
answer
enero
was
del
that,
2026.
the answer was there was no attack on Venezuela on the 3rd of January 2026.
¿Cuál es la narrativa imperialista?
Now, what is the imperial narrative?
Por allí salió algo que decía que la verdad es la primera víctima de la guerra.
As it's written here, the truth is the first victim of the war.
Para hacer una guerra que no es una guerra, es un ataque unilateral,
For it to be a war, which is not a war, it is a unilateral attack.
hay que, con estas características, hay que comenzar mintiendo.
And for this type of the characteristic is that you have to start to lie
Para justificar una agresión militar ilegal.
to justify a military attack.
Con el pretexto del cartel de los soles,
Using the cartel de los soles as a pretext,
como una construcción narrativa para criminalizar y justificar una intervención.
creating a narrative to justify an invasion.
Hemos estado asediados
We've been invaded,
y ahora con la imagen del buque
and with the image of this ship,
con portaaviones y armamento suficiente
with a lot of arms and warplanes,
para acabar no solo con Venezuela, sino con varios países de América Latina.
to finish Venezuela, but not only Venezuela, other countries of South America too.
Las históricas mentiras para justificar las guerras.
The historical lies to justify war.
En el caso de Irak, que poseía armas de destrucción masiva y tenía vínculos operativos con Al-Qaeda.
In Iraq, the lie was that it was having massive arms of destruction, and it had connection with Al-Qaeda.
Igual con Libia, con Siria,
In Libya and Syria, the same.
por décadas en Latinoamérica apoyando dictaduras y escuadrones de la muerte en nombre del anticomunismo.
And for many, many years in Latin America also, it was that saying that was supporting dictatorship, death squads, and it was against communism.
En el 2025 comienza la supuesta lucha contra las drogas.
In 2025 starts the supposed war against drugs.
Creer En estas mentiras no es inocencia, es complicidad con la criminalidad global, el gobierno de Estados Unidos y sus fines guerreristas.
To believe in those lies is not a sign of innocence, it's complicity with the criminality, the global criminality of the US government.
El objetivo del ataque militar son dos.
The purpose of the military attacks are two.
Venezuela es el país con la mayor reserva de petróleo.
Venezuela is the richest country with the largest amount of petroleum, oil.
Bajo esa fachada de atacar el narcotráfico, quieren los recursos del país, no solo petróleo, sino minerales importantes.
And that's the real reason why they want the resources of the country.
Pero no solo los recursos, sino quieren acabar con la soberanía que hemos construido en Venezuela.
But they don't, not only is it about the natural resources, it's also about the plan or the history that the Venezuelans have created, have built up.
O un ataque electrónico
And electronic warfare.
antes de los hechos hay testimonios de personas que no podían, que el GPS estaba desorientado,
Otra vez.
que hay testimonios de
There are
personas
witnesses
que quisieron utilizar GPS horas antes del ataque y estaban deshabilitados.
Yeah, hours before the attack, the GPS was deactivated. People who tried to use GPS a few hours before the attack happened on the 3rd of January, it was deactivated.
Hubo la destrucción de 5 centros de investigaciones,
There was bombs fell on different centers also of investigation.
con 2 misiles, que fue un ataque directo a la infraestructura científica.
Those missiles were directed to this investigation university or center.
No solo es el petróleo,
It's not only about petroleum or oil. It's not only about oil.
es un claro mensaje que quieren acabar con el conocimiento científico emancipador.
They want to finish otra vez, quieren acabar.
Claro mensaje
It's a clear message
de que quieren acabar
that they want to finish
con el conocimiento científico emancipador, liberador.
okay, it's scientific knowledge, liberating scientific knowledge.
Es el petróleo, una barbarie.
It's a barbaridad, barbarie.
El bombardeo de un almacén estratégico destinado al resguardo de medicinas para pacientes renales.
They dropped bombs on where medicines were stored, medicines for people with kidney problems. They dropped bombs and destroyed many medicines.
Medicinas y tratamientos renales como diálisis que llegan a muchísimos venezolanos de manera gratuita.
Medicines, especially for dialysis, that Venezuelans are receiving that are free.
Como parte de la acción social que realiza el gobierno para los venezolanos.
As part of a social program that the government has for the Venezuelans.
El imperialismo no nos perdona que hemos optado por relaciones multipolares.
Imperialism is not forgiving Venezuela, that Venezuela has developed multilateral relations.
Relaciones distintas a la hegemonía unipolar.
Relations that are different from the unilateral hegemonia that are existing.
Esto es una batalla que no es una batalla contra Venezuela, es una batalla global con el sur global.
This is not only a battle against Venezuela, it's a battle or a fight against the South, the global South.
No nos perdonan que querramos decidir nuestro propio futuro.
We are not, it's not, they cannot forgive that we want to decide our own future.
En este momento voy a hacer un recuento de qué es lo que quieren acabar en Venezuela.
I'm going to now go and give an overview of what is it really that they want to finish in Venezuela.
Esto es parte de mi historia personal,
This is part of my personal history.
la construcción de una soberanía en medio de una guerra multiforme.
The construction, de nuevo,
De una soberanía
the construction of a, pero de nuevo, de comienzo, disculpe. La
está
construcción.
arriba en el título blanco.
Okay, sovereignty. Okay, so Venezuela wants self-determination, and they're working on it in the middle of a multiform war in different levels, different ways.
El 3 de enero recibimos unos bombardeos y se está hablando de guerra en Venezuela.
On the 3rd of January, bombs were dropped on Venezuela, and they're talking about war in Venezuela.
Pero esa guerra comenzó muchos años antes.
But this war that they're talking about now started many years ago.
Comenzamos a ver la línea de tiempo desde 1999
Look at this timeline starting in 1999.
donde el presidente Chávez convocó un proceso constituyente
This is when President Chavez called for a constituency
para elaborar el ejercicio de participación democrática, la Constitución Nacional.
to have eso es muy largo, ¿no? For a constitutional to revise, dímelo de nuevo.
Elaborar en un ejercicio democrático y participativo
A democratic exercise in which everybody participated
la Constitución de Venezuela.
to revise the Constitution of Venezuela.
En el 2001, unos años después,
In 2001, 2 years later,
voy a hacer un paréntesis. A los venezolanos que me están escuchando, sabrán que estos son unas pinceladas muy gruesas porque tengo pocos minutos, pero voy a tratar de hacer un paneo general de lo que quieren arrebatarnos.
the Venezuelans that are listening now, I'm just doing this very global, okay? Because I don't have much time.
En el 2001 comienzan a levantarse las leyes para el poder popular en Venezuela.
In 2001, laws were created for the popular power, people's power, for the lands, the soil of the hydrocarbons and fishing.
Son leyes que suponen un cambio de estructura de gobierno y social.
These are laws created for change of government and social change.
Por ejemplo, la ley de pesca privilegiaba la pesca artesanal,
The law, for instance, that was de nuevo. ¿Cómo?
que por ejemplo, la ley de pesca privilegiaba la pesca artesanal.
Okay, so the law of fishing gave preference to the artisanal fishing, I'm not sure how to translate that.
Es decir, las leyes protegían al poder popular y a el campesino.
So these laws were to protect the popular power and for the farmers, local farmers.
I
Y
think she means
había,
non-commercial fishing.
No comercial.
Yeah, that's what she's talking. Artisanal is it's not big
Okay.
commercial it's local fishermen.
Yeah, local.
todo este marco legal
All in a legal framework.
sí va a representar lo que en el 2015 dijeron una amenaza inusual
All this that was created at that moment is actually the preparation for when in 2015 Venezuela was declared a threat,
una amenaza inusual y extraordinaria,
an unusual, an extraordinary threat.
porque hay un pueblo que se estaba levantando o que se está levantando en el 2001
Because there's a people that already in 2001 started to come up yes,
con una grandísima participación popular.
with a people that was rising up and with tremendous popular participation.
En el 2002,
In
no nos van a
2002,
perdonar eso.
in
Y
2002, this was not, there was a reaction that they could not forgive that.
Y comienza, digamos, un pico del ataque que siempre ha sido constante con el secuestro, con el primer secuestro, o con el secuestro, hemos tenido dos secuestros de presidente, con el presidente Chávez en el 2002.
So in 2002, there was a surge of a reaction towards this process of people's power. And this is when Chavez was kidnapped.
Meses después hubo un sabotaje a la industria petrolera.
And then months later, there was a sabotage of the oil industry.
Fíjense cómo el petróleo viene siendo el protagonista también de la historia.
And here the oil became the real reason, the protagonist of this story.
Nosotros los venezolanos, resistencia y más resistencia.
And the Venezuelans developed more and more resistance.
Ante tantas agresiones,
Resistance against so many aggressions.
estoy explicando cómo la guerra ha sido constante y ha tenido picos de agresiones desde hace años.
I'm explaining how these aggressions already have been going on for a long time and how
Sorry,
they
can
were
we just,
surface.
Christian, Professor, can we just wrap it up and then we'll continue up in the discussion period? So just another minute, please.
Okay, un minuto más. Hay que cerrar.
Ok, bueno, rápidamente, en el 2003 comienza una nueva forma de gobierno
In 2003, a new form of government was created
con misiones sociales,
with social visions.
En el tiempo se crean aproximadamente 60 universidades nuevas.
And in that period, 60 new universities were created.
Se hace una inversión social muy grande a través de los años.
Very much big investments were done in the social area.
En términos de PRAUD, pudiéramos decir, para garantizar las 5 necesidades básicas.
In all this, if we would use crowd terminals terms, This is all was meant to guarantee the 5 basic necessities of the people.
Por ejemplo, en el 2024 ya se habían entregado más de 5 millones de viviendas nuevas.
By 2024, the government had built 5 million new houses for the people.
De viviendas nuevas y dignas.
New and dignifying houses.
Comienza a gestarse una nueva organización del poder popular,
And a new organization of people's power is evolving.
consejos comunales, ya sea las comunas,
Consejos comunales, commune, I'm not sure how to translate that.
me
Consejo
gustaría
comunal.
explicar,
Collectives, perhaps? Collectives?
They're called
Commune.
communes. They're called communes.
Communes, okay.
Yeah.
me gustaría explicarlo con mayor amplitud, pero para hacer el cierre que me han solicitado,
I would like to explain this more, but there's no more time.
Thank you so much, Professor Dupuy.
a través de los años hemos logrado una superestructura de poder popular.
Throughout the years, we have been able to create a super structure of people's power.
Y por supuesto, una soberanía del manejo de nuestros recursos económicos
And soberanía, like self-determination of our own resources.
porque toda esta inversión social,
Because all this social investment,
es decir, los recursos para esta inversión social salían de las ventas de la renta petrolera.
the resources and money that was invested in the social programs came from the sales of the oil.
Right.
Tampoco nos los perdonaron y en el 2015 comienzan las mal llamadas sanciones.
And this was not looked upon very well. And so in 2015, sanctions were imposed on Venezuela.
Para acabar con la soberanía petrolera, que era la fuente de financiamiento del poder popular.
This was to finish with the money that came from the oil sales and that was invested into social programs for the people.
No estoy defendiendo, digamos, una gestión de gobierno. Estoy defendiendo, como pueblo que soy, el poder popular que hemos construido por más de 25 años en Venezuela.
I'm not defending a government. I am defending a process as being a citizen of Venezuela, a process of what we have built up over all these years.
Correct.
Hay mucho más que decir, pero eso corona en enero del 2026 con un ataque militar.
There's much more to say, but it culminated in the attack on the 3rd of January.
Esto es una imagen de un juego de video que salió en el 2008 aproximadamente.
An image that she's going to show of what came out in a video game of 2018.
Donde un videojuego que luego fue prohibido en Venezuela, pero era un videojuego bélico.
It
I'm
was
wondering, can we save the video? She wants to share a video, Didi?
no, an image, but I don't see
Okay.
it.
And then we really have to segue to Howard.
Okay. Tenemos que cerrar aquí, Kripa Devi. Yo no veo la imagen tampoco, pero hay que cerrar aquí para darle espacio a Howard.
Muchísimas gracias.
Mm.
If anyone has questions and you're thinking you might forget them by the time Howard finishes, you're welcome to put your question in the chat for Professor Dupuy. But we will not do questions yet. We'll wait for Howard to finish his presentation. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, 1 second. Um, okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Dupuy, for that that stirring description of what Venezuela has been experiencing over the last 20, 25 years. So my name's Howard Neiman. I'm a member of the Proud Alliance, which is a group of Proudists working for positive system change in North America. And I believe Nada explained a little bit what PROUD is. PROUD is an acronym for Progressive Utilization Theory, which is a social economic system that stands for the equitable and sustainable utilization of all resources for the welfare of all. So I spent about 6 years in Venezuela during the 1980s. This was before Chavez. And it was an exploited country. It was a vassal state of the United States. It was run by a two-party dictatorship, similar to maybe what we have here in the United States. There were just two parties. And if you wanted to do anything in Venezuela, you had to become a member of one of these parties to get a job, to get perks, to get power, or whatever. And petrodollars ran the country, the affluent in the big cities of Venezuela would go shopping on the weekends to Miami and New York, while the majority of the people in the country, the poor or lower middle class even, had little opportunity to advance.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've received a request for Didi to translate for how many people, if you can raise your hand on the Zoom, how many people on the Zoom would prefer if Didi and Sadhana would translate as Howard is speaking? Can you just raise your hand or unmute yourself? Does anyone need the Spanish language translation here?
Need to say that in Spanish.
Sí, que si alguien,
Go ahead.
que si hay personas que no entienden inglés, que por favor levanten la mano para que la Didi traduzca de inglés a español. Gracias.
Just unmute or put yourself in the chat or something. Mario would like. Okay, so Didi, I know it's very intensive and I know you weren't expecting to, but are you willing to translate Howard's presentation?
You know, if you do translate it, it probably won't have much time for discussion afterwards.
Mm.
But I can send them I'm actually, yeah, it's up to you, really.
You say
I think
that-
there's one person, Mario. I'm trying to see where Mario is.
Does Mario live in
Mario
Venezuela?
in Venezuela. Él está en Venezuela. He's in Venezuela.
Okay.
Is there any way to do the breakout room for language and Didi could do that there
Oh,
for
Yo veo,
simultaneous?
no, yo veo I could translate on WhatsApp. I will call him.
but actually, I do have language interpretation on the Zoom, so I could do it.
My worry is time.
Yeah.
Well, it would be at the same time. So it would be while when
No,
the speaker's speaking.
If you go ahead, I will continue to translate for Kripa Devi, and I'm going to call Mario so he can listen in on what I'm translating to Kripa Devi.
Okay.
Okay.
We would appreciate it, Didi. Thank you. Does that work, Mario? All right. Okay,
Okay.
Howard, please go ahead.
Mario, yo te voy a llamar, ¿ok? Siga.
Please
Okay,
go ahead.
so up until that point, into the 1980s, the petroleum industry had been operating since the 1920s, so it's 60 years. It had basically destroyed the agriculture and a lot of other industries in the country.
You're still showing the first slide, Howard, right?
Yes, I only have a few slides. I will not be showing a lot of slides, okay? So a lot of it will be just explanation. Okay, so let's see. So Kripa Devi showed, I mean, the last slide she showed was an amazing slide, and I hope we can get a copy of it because it really showed the progression of what has been done in Venezuela, which is considerable for the development of a socialist state. And it's quite, my presentation here, actually, the first part of it will be looking at the commune system that was developed in Venezuela as an example of local economy or local, what we call block level planning, because I think it's really instructive. And then I'll talk a little bit about Prout's idea of decentralizing the economy. So, yeah, although Professor couldn't go into all of this, I just thought this is just very interesting stuff. I mean, Chavez took his inspiration from basically the main character who initiated Venezuela, who liberated Venezuela in the early 1800s, and that was Simón Bolívar, and who's considered the liberator of most of the northern part of South America. He liberated Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. Of course, Bolivia named their country after him. So he was one of the, and then there was San Martin from the south. So they liberated most of South Spanish-speaking South America from Spanish rule. He was an amazing person. I encourage people to actually look more into him and what he did. So Chavez basically couldn't stand anymore what was happening to his country, and basically by the end of the 1990s, or actually through the 1990s, Venezuela was just following all the IMF rules and squeezing the people and creating more and more economic inequality until Chavez revolted and tried to do a coup d'etat, but he was captured. It failed. He put him in prison. He came out, and then he started moving in the electoral process, right? And I believe he won 4 presidential elections in the next 13 years before he passed away. So the first thing important to understand is that this whole thing of who Chavez was just some guy who just came in there and decided to have a revolution or overthrow the capitalists. But he basically his whole movement, that whole movement is based on the culture and legacy and just nationalistic sentiments of the people of Venezuela, right? These are 3 important figures in their history, and you can see that one promoted sovereignty, the other one, local solutions, the other one Zamora fought against for social justice, for redistribution of the land, etc., and fighting the oligarchy. So you're talking about 100 years 150 years of history before Chavez came about. So it really brings into focus, just how much of the Venezuelan culture he was just bringing it out and connecting that to a revolutionary vision of what Venezuela could really be. Let's see. Wait, no, I missed this. Right. So I'm not going to go through all the things that the professor had talked about. I mean, there's many things that Chavez did. They restructured, they rewrote the Constitution, they rewrote laws, they recomposed the government. He took a lot of the petrodollars and put it into social services and really helped the people. I mean, he had massive support in Venezuela. And but the interesting thing is about midway through this process, he realized, and this is after he started a whole project of developing cooperatives in Venezuela. But after some time, first of all, a lot of people didn't have the capacity or the consciousness to run cooperatives. But he also realized that the cooperatives were actually functioning within the same neoliberal system as before, and he wanted fundamental change. So then he started with the communes. He gave a talk in 2012, which ended with communes or nothing. Basically, either we have communes or forget it, forget this whole thing. And what they did was they started to take the community councils. So there were community councils, like meeting halls, meeting groups across the country, and they started giving them power. They started giving them in charges of certain areas of land around them and made them responsible for the political and economic development of those areas, and even social to some extent. So these communes they're very different than what they did in Russia, which were totally top down. These communes were totally bottom up, right? The people they did get resources from the federal government, and in that they bypassed in many ways the municipal and state governments, which caused some conflicts at that time, or still causing conflicts. But so they started building up these communes, and gradually these communal councils, as you can see here, began to meet, began to really become empowered. And these are similar to, maybe some of you have seen a description of some of our work in Haiti with the self-help groups. So this commune movement began to grow and grow and grow, and today I think there are about over 5,000 operating communes throughout the country. I mean, you can see how ridiculous the notion that Trump, our president, got up there and said that he's going to run the country. When this country is already being run from the bottom up. I mean, it's just ludicrous, actually, their understanding of this whole thing. In any case, so these 5,000, so they started, each of these communes operated differently according to the resources they had on hand. Some, for example, had there were coffee production machineries and industries that were there, before Chavez, that were just lying around. They started operating them again and creating a whole the income for the communities. And so they began to and are still actually developing to address the lack of basic necessities. So they started producing basic necessities. They started growing crops. They started building houses, as the professor explained. And so these are growing entities throughout the country. In other words, they are in the midst of this amazing political process whereby these communes, they also created a coalition of communes, some type of national entity that brings these communes together, and it's all based on basically direct democracy, right? Direct participatory democracy. So that's what's going on in Venezuela, and there's many things to learn from it. They're learning many things. They need, of course, to raise people's consciousness more about their roles in these communes and what these communes are in relation to other communes and to the national trajectory. They see. They need to be able to coordinate this top-down, bottom-up process, because as they emerge from the bottom, and they're being also receiving some funding from the top, from the federal government, this whole relationship is presented a number of difficulties that they're working through. And they need to understand better how, obviously, how to control their economies at the local level.
Just a couple more minutes, Howard, please.
Okay. So I thought these communes are amazing example, and I just want to go through some of the elements from a Proud point of view, what we consider looking at some of the successes there and in other parts of the world of these bottom-up movements. I just want to talk about just a few elements of Proud and how Proud sees this type of development. So let's see here. Right, so these are just some of the major elements of bottom-up economy from a Proud point of view. First of all, the idea of decentralizing the economy, which means similar to in Venezuela, it was more an organic thing, how these communes began to emerge. In Proud, we think that it's important to create these types of divisions where block-wise at a local level, looking at common economic and social and cultural conditions. And so we create these structures so that we can go to scale on this decentralization very quickly. We look at local planning. In other words, the localities similar to what they're doing in Venezuela should be planning not only for their present but future needs, and it should be done in a democratic way. As you can see how the communes are doing this already. Production should be for consumption. In other words, should basically meet. First of all, consumption should move towards meeting basic needs, and then beyond that. So also, Proud supports the cooperative system as it should be totally intertwined with the decentralization process, because in order for people to get experience in the workplace, to work collectively, the cooperatives are very important. So when the cooperatives are embedded in a decentralized economy, then they can actually move the economy towards a fundamental change in how it's structured, sort of a system change there. There should be no importation of goods or services or exportation of raw materials. In other words, they should really become these local block level planning structures should move to become more and more self-sufficient. By creating local production, they should be able to employ everyone, and also constitutional legal supports for local economy are really important. So, and those have been put into place to some extent in Venezuela. People can read more about how they've done it, and I think we feel that wherever you try to decentralize the economy, you need to have some political support. So. I just wanted to say and move through this really quick. This is in Proud, we understand that human society is not just about economics or politics, but is about different levels of human existence and human needs, right? And the in this image, we're trying to understand that the economy needs to be embedded in the political structure with more leadership and these guarantees I mentioned, and those two systems need to be embedded in a social system that is able to unite and create harmonious relationships between all members of that society. And that is also within a cultural expression that appreciates the diversity of human cultures, but also respects the respect and dignity for all cultures, but also realizes that that human culture is one. And then all of that is also embedded in the environment, in our relationship to non-human entities and species, and our responsibility to protect and support them, and all of that within a value system, a spiritual or universal value system that helps to expand our consciousness, awaken our inner wisdom, and motivates us to build economies for all, benevolent governments, social unity, inspiring and creative cultural expressions, and environmental harmony. So here we are in the Hudson Valley. And in case people didn't know, I thought I'd put up the Hudson Valley there. And so what's needed to be done? Well, there's a lot needed to be done, but in Prout, we look at it sort of basically. We look at it first, knowing your area. In other words, wherever you're going to work, in whatever area, whether it's food, housing, whatever, education, we need to research that, so we're grounded in what's actually happening, in what is the baseline, the conditions that exist in our area of work, and also the other people, human resources that are already operating and working, because there are many allies, many people, many organizations that are already doing a lot of great work that we can connect with, right? Then together and collectively, in a democratic fashion, we make a plan, and then we serve the people, right? So this is how Prout operates when we go to any place. These are the three areas of activity that we try to engage in.
Thank you very much, Howard. Can we segue to the discussion?
Sure.
Okay. So thank you both, Professor Dupuy. Thank you so much, Didi Anandasadana, for translating. I know it's very intensive work to do translation, and thank you, Howard. I have a question that I can ask to start off the conversation, and it's for Professor Dupuy. In the United States, Professor Dupuy, the social justice community unequivocally condemns the American government's kidnapping of President Maduro and his spouse. And, I don't know if you saw photos of her, but she was brutalized by the Americans as she was being brought to New York. It was really quite disturbing. So my question for you is that under President Maduro, what we've been hearing in the United States, and it's very hard for us to know what to believe, what not to believe. We have a media that's captured by capitalist interests. So, unless we really go to independent media, it's very hard for us in the United States to know what's going on in Venezuela. But my question is, we have been hearing of legitimate accounts of repression under President Maduro. And so I want to ask you about civil liberties and the freedom of association, the freedom of speech, the freedom of press under President Maduro's administration? Was there widespread repression? And then if there was, the question becomes, how do we fight American imperialism when it's being targeted against our country and at the same time work for protecting people's rights inside Venezuela? So it's a very, sort of complex situation to be in, that you have to work for the human rights of the people and you have to simultaneously fight the interventions, the unwanted imperialist interventions of the United States. So I'd love to hear what you're thinking about that.
El tema de los derechos humanos en Venezuela. Hay mucha represión aquí, hay libertad de expresión acá, porque ahí está el conflicto, ¿no? Ellos sienten como quieren proteger los derechos de los seres humanos también en Venezuela, pero también estar en contra de la invasión. Entonces, ¿hay represión aquí o no? Tu respuesta. Creo que ya está abierta.
Okay. En Venezuela existe una muy amplia libertad de expresión.
Okay. In Venezuela, there's a freedom of expression. There's freedom of expression.
Manifiesta en todos los espacios, públicos, privados, mediáticos, no mediáticos.
And that is obvious in all areas of media or not media. Freedom of expression is there.
Creo que parte de la estrategia es crear redes de comunicaciones
Part of the strategy is to create social media
de nuestra estrategia, los del sur global,
aware of the strategy of the South, the global South.
porque estamos ante una guerra no solo psicológica, sino cognitiva.
It's also a psychological warfare and also cognitive or knowledge warfare.
La guerra cognitiva es la que ataca nuestro conocimiento y lo distorsiona.
It distorts this warfare of knowledge, of information, distorts what's happening.
Evidentemente, si allá llega la información de que aquí no hay libertad de expresión,
So when the information arises or reaches that there's no freedom of expression,
si llega la información allá de que Nicolás Maduro es un dictador,
and you in the United States receive the information that Maduro is a dictator,
evidentemente es parte de la guerra cognitiva.
this is part of the warfare of information against Venezuela.
Venezuela tiene un estado de altísima protección social.
Venezuela has very high protection of social, what again?
Protección social.
Of social protection,
donde realmente el Estado ha hecho muchas estrategias para protegernos de la gran agresión imperialista.
where the state has, has made a lot of strategies against the attack, imperial, to protect itself against imperial attacks.
Protege al ciudadano.
It protects the citizen.
Es una realidad, no estoy hablando desde la realidad, desde mi vivencia.
I'm talking from my experience.
Hay una guerra psicológica que inocula ideas de odio en algunos venezolanos.
There is, it puts my ideas, it puts hatred also in the minds of the Venezuelans. There is that strategy of putting hatred in the minds of the Venezuelans.
Sin embargo, ellos hablan en los medios, en las plazas, cualquier cosa que quieran hablar y cualquier opinión sin ser reprimidos.
Still, they have the right to, they can express themselves, they have the right to express themselves without being repressed.
Entonces, definitivamente aquí hay una gran libertad de expresión y eso es, el hecho de que no llegue la información es parte de la guerra mediática.
There is freedom of expression here, and that it doesn't. It's part of the warfare, the social media, the media warfare, that it's does not come across like that.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we are also victims of this because we are continuously fed this bunch of lies. I mean, here in the United States, it was basically, oh, this guy's bad. He's a drug trafficker and he represses his people and he does all sorts of bad things. So taking him out is the good thing. I mean, this you can talk to a lot of Americans and say, yeah, he was a bad guy. They don't understand at all what's going on in Venezuela, basically.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question for either Professor Dupuy or for Howard? Yes, Alex.
This is for Professor Dupuy. First of all, thank you so much, Professor, for taking time out and sharing the struggle of Venezuela to be able to write its own destiny and to express itself as a people. My question is that how do you see what comes next for Venezuela? Because many of us in the United States believe that Trump is a temporary phenomenon, and we would like to see a shift of Venezuela taking its own sovereignty back. But historically, we look at the United States as an imperial power that has intervention based on oil and resources, and we have no say in how our government operates here in the United States, and we're embarrassed and angered about it. What do you think comes next for Venezuela here? What is the discussion amongst the proudest of Venezuela?
Hay una incertidumbre.
There's insecurity,
Sin embargo, desde Proud,
but from Proud point of view,
desde los movimientos sociales que nos explica Sarkar,
and from the social movements that Sarkar is explaining,
ese movimiento sistáltico,
the systolic movements,
estamos claramente ante una contrarrevolución.
it's obvious we are in the face of a counter-revolution.
El imperialismo va a hacer todo lo posible por acabar con cualquier vestigio de revolución.
The imperialism will try to destroy any the change that's coming up. They will try to destroy it.
Es lógico pensarlo por la historia misma del imperialismo en América Latina y en el mundo.
It's logical when you see the history of Latin America and the history of the world.
Sin embargo, en Venezuela hemos forjado un sistema social
But in spite of that, we have created in Venezuela a social system,
socialista,
socialista, yeah,
que a mi criterio
that according to me
es irreversible.
cannot be turned back.
Ellos tienen armamento militar suficiente como para acabar con lo que quieran.
They have enough weapons to finish what they want. They can destroy what they want.
Pero en 25 años de revolución en Venezuela,
But 25 years of revolution in Venezuela
se ha logrado crear una conciencia colectiva
has developed a collective consciousness, a collective collective awareness,
y una superestructura
and a superstructure
de soberanía
of self-determination
y de autodeterminación.
and self-determination and sovereignty.
Y la vamos a defender.
And we will defend this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So it sounds like the culture of this revolutionary Bolivarian spirit has really become entrenched in the at the grassroots level in Venezuela, and that's really inspiring to hear. We have time for one last question. If anyone would like to ask a question before we close the Zoom and thank our presenters. Does anyone else have anything they would like to?
I just wanted to respond to Dada Maheshwananda made a comment in the chat, and I think it's worthwhile to talk about. I mean, when Chavez was passing away, he handed the government over to Maduro, and he said, I mean, my legacy is these communes, right? So that was the most important thing for him. And Maduro was popular for a while, but what happened was, of course, when under Obama and then Trump, they started applying sanctions, and the price of petroleum, I think many people may have read this already, but the price of petroleum dropped, and they became, the economy started to go down the drain, basically, and that's why a lot of people started. I mean, mostly the wealthy and educated actually started leaving very early. But then when the economy started going down, a lot of people in Venezuela, they couldn't live, they couldn't survive, and they started leaving. Okay, and of course, many of them blamed Maduro. And also, so Maduro, because of all these economic problems, particularly, people started to protest and so he started to lose elections, and at that point he started to become a little bit oppressive, especially of these other political parties, opposition, because in order to maintain them on this, path to socialism, he started to use oppression. I think mainly not on obviously the entire population, but mainly on these political targets. So that's the reality of that. So you have this popular revolution going on, then you have the government on top trying to manage a lot of stuff. Plus, there is corruption. There's always been corruption. I mean, there's corruption here. I mean, there's corruption all over, in government. So, yeah, it takes a lot of study to really and to understand what's really happening. If anyone wants to know in English read a lot of stuff about Venezuela, I recommend a site called Venezuela Analysis. It's just one word, and you can find they have been analyzing and researching and commenting on the process that Chavez started since the very beginning. So there's a lot of material there that you can look at.
Thank you so much for that, Howard. Yeah, these, I mean, for the United States, it's very clear. For the social justice community, we have to, people are angry that we have this leader. We have a system of government that produced someone like Trump, who's rampaging all over. So we have a responsibility here to remove this administration from power that's causing so much harm and damage and danger to the world. So we have that responsibility. But when the social justice community talks about Venezuela, Iran, in Iran right now, thousands of people have been killed, and we are completely opposed to American and Israeli intervention in the internal affairs of Iran. At the same time, we cannot minimize that the government has been very repressive. So the social justice community always finds itself in this delicate balance where we have to recognize repression, but it certainly is never, ever a justification, never, for American military interventions around the world. So we have to just be very clear. That's why I bring this up. And it's also very challenging for us to, sometimes we have to work on multiple fronts and multiple levels in fighting the oppression and repression. But I would really like to thank Professor Dupuy and Didi Nandasarana from Venezuela for participating. It's actually wonderful to hear directly from you. And so we just thank you for taking the time with us. I have recorded the Zoom, so I can certainly share this conversation with everyone who's registered. And thank you, Howard. Howard remind me your position with the Prama Center. Are you the president for Howard?
Of what?
Of
Oh,
the Prama?
no, I'm a co-director.
You're the co-director. Howard's the co-director. For those of you who are newish to Prout, Howard and I are planning a day-long Prout gathering at Westpac sometime in March. I'm not sure if we settled upon a date, did we? Howard?
No, not yet.
Not yet? So we will have, it'll probably be on a Saturday or Sunday at the Westpac office. And we will be, those 3 bullet points that you heard from Howard, know the area, make a plan, and serve the people. Those 3 points that Sarkar told all of us that we should be doing. We have to know our area, we have to make a plan, and we have to serve the people. So that's what we're going to be talking about at the Westpac office in March. For the Hudson, this will be specifically for the Hudson Valley. So on that note, thank you all for joining and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Namaste.